Welcome to the Real Estate PB&J Hour on Money Talk 1310 and 100.9 FM. Rosenwomble Realtor Paul Fuqua is here to share market facts, the fundamentals of selling, buying, owning, and improving your home, plus interesting experts. Now, here is Paul.
Welcome back, folks. We're very pleased to be here and not to be under a huge rain shower. I know there was a little bit of rain as I was coming to the station today. The purpose of this show, as we've said every week, is to provide you some advice and the benefit of experience to help you in the process of buying or selling or renovating or improving one of the largest investments you'll make in your life in most instances, and that's your home. I'm Paul Fuqua. I'm a full-time professional realtor with Rosenwomble Realty. And today, we're going to continue our discussion of suggested processes to follow when you're maintaining or improving or renovating a home. Over the years, I've been very fortunate to have a large number of clients, many of whom have bought a property, and as the years progress, they've gone ahead and made changes. And in many instances, they've asked me to come in and give them a little bit of advice and provide them with my opinion of the value in market terms of what they propose to do. I'm joined today by the real estate broker extraordinaire, Kim Pimento from Rosenwomble. Kim, great to see you.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
And now, Kim, last week, Bob Freck and I covered a number of things to avoid doing or failing to do as you go about renovating, improving your home. And today, we're going to discuss the actual processes we suggest you follow when you are planning renovations in your property. So if you're listening and you have a question, please call us at 757-497-1310, or you can send us an email at psfuqua@aol.com. We'd prefer to have your question posed over the air. Dino is more than willing to take the call and screen you, and if we decide that you're not acceptable, we're still going to listen to you.
And I think we'll be so excited to get a phone call.
Yeah, I know it's drive time, folks. That's why we're here, so we'll get an audience. As you know, we're focused on the fundamentals in real estate, and it's basically what we do. Both Kim and I are full-time professionals at this. I've been in the business for more than a quarter of a century. Kim is far younger than I am and far more attractive and far more intelligent. That's why I have her on this show on a regular basis.
Thank you. That's not true.
We want to continue to make the show relaxed. We want to be able to offer opinions and experiences which can help you in the process of dealing with real estate as a buyer or a seller or a homeowner, and what elements in the process protect your interests and what is most important in making any real estate transaction less harrowing. Now, we know from the news, Kim,
yes,
hear me out, that market forces continue to change the dynamics of the process of real estate. And you're going to share some statistics with us of the housing market, both national and, more importantly, local.
Sure, Lane. Let's start out with the rates. That's what we always kind of tend to start out with.
Okay.
So non-conforming, and these are hot off the press. Got these just before I left the office from Advanced Financial Services. Holly Robinson got these for me. It's non-conforming 5.375% with 0 points.
Does that go up from last week?
Yes, just a little bit.
Okay, like 0.12 of a point.
Right, it was just a little bit lower, and then conforming 30-year 6% with 1 point. Conforming investment 25% down, 5.875% with 3.25 points. So that's a jump a little bit. Yeah, because of the points.
Right.
FHA 6% with 1 point.
Right.
And VA 5.5% and 1 point. Okay. And again, this is based on people with very good credit and having the money to put it down. It's like a 740 or 720 something place north of 700. Yes.
And remember, you have to have reserves. You have to have good payment history. and you've got to be able to document where your money is coming from, that money which you're going to use as a down payment. And don't forget, folks, always ask them to give you an estimate of the cost to close.
Yes, they should do that prior before you can go out looking. No surprises. We don't want any surprises, especially in this market where people are. What they were looking at last year is sometimes $50,000 to $75,000 more than it was last year. So it's kind of, people are a little bit shocked about what they can afford this year compared to last year, which is making people a little bit reluctant to buy, not wanting to buy, because that's a big price difference when you go into a home, $50,000 to $75,000 more expensive than the ones that you can afford now. That's a lot of real estate there.
Yeah, what we see also, it's a tempering of the market. You're not seeing the radical price jumps in listings. You are seeing more price adjustments, but we still have not enough inventory for the demand, and
Correct.
There's always going to create a pressure on pricing.
Correct. Well, this is just kind of an overview of the market. I listened to Ryan Price, who's the Virginia Association of Realtors economist, and yesterday he said the unemployment in Virginia is 2.7%, which is not bad. That's pretty low, actually. The U.S. is 3.2%, so Virginia is lower. But the reason that we're having so many problems right now really is that people's perception of the economy is extremely low. Yep. Everybody's really in the dumps. That we've kind of got a recession mentality going on. Mm-hmm. So inflation is 8.5%, which that could definitely induce.
I know, I filled up the suburban
that recession
tank.
mentality. And the Federal Reserve targets about a 2% inflation, so we're pretty way off about what they want to keep our economy at. Gas is 44% higher. Used vehicles 6.6%, new vehicles 10.4%, and food is 13.1%. So that's a pretty big hit to everybody's pocketbooks.
I know.
So,
however, you have to house yourself, and there are nevertheless deals to be had out there. There are houses that fit your lifestyle, and if you are in need of a new residence, it's there. You can find it. It may take a little longer, and it may be a little more dear on a monthly basis, but the advantage is that there's always the possibility of refis when the rates come back down.
And they will come back down. So the strange thing is only 6%, since 2009, people that have been in the housing markets for that long, what is that,
12 years.
12 years?
13 years.
Only know 6% and below. 2011, they only really know 5% and below.
I know.
So that is a big shocker to people, and why the rise in these interest rates are creating such a rigmarole, or kind of getting everybody in upheaval.
Folks, the interest rates can be moderated by virtue of the opportunity at some point in time to refi. It is deductible, even though with the new standard deductions that came in under the previous administration, there is a benefit to you in most instances, unless you have a sufficiently large income to use a standard deduction. But nevertheless, it's a deductible expense, so think of it that way. And it's far better because every payment you make, you are building equity. That money's going to come back to you at some point, unless you're in it for 30 years and you never do anything to pay it down more quickly.
Yeah, and actually, because of the increase and the rapid increase of the prices, our market has actually been cooling since July 2021.
Right.
People kind of started backing out, kind of stepping back and looking. But still, 50% of our homes sell in less than a week, and 50% more. So we're still in a pretty competitive market. So with that being said, nationally, the average first-time home buyer is 33 years old.
That's awfully young.
Yes. Has a household income of $86,500, spends a median of $252,000 on their home, makes a 7% down payment, buys a home with an average square footage of 1,640, and 37% of our first-time home buyers carry student debt with a typical balance of $30,000.
And it's interesting because it's said by many statisticians in this market that first-time home buyers are concentrated in many instances in new construction, and I think we've seen a change in new construction, and it does impact first-time home buyers more significantly when there are increases in the rates.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
So the millennials are people we consider 25 to 34 years of age. The home ownership rate is roughly 38%. Gen X, when they were 25 to 34, it was 47%.
Right.
And for baby boomers, it was 45%. So that's the case. That's we are lowering. People are finding it harder. Millennials had only 4.3% of U.S. wealth through the first half of the 2020.
Is that because of lifestyle choices, do you think, or is it simply the market? Because I notice in many instances of my generation, people married earlier and started families earlier. And now it would seem that the older, the millennial characterization is characterized by a later marriage and later child rearing, so that they have an opportunity to buy at a higher level in most instances.
Well, according to the VAR, though it makes sense, of course, for the baby boomer generation to control most of the country's wealth at this time, the data also shows millennials have less money than boomers did at the same age. Middle class income levels where many millennials fall is higher than it was 40 years ago, but purchasing power is about the same. This puts it in perspective. The $4.03 an hour rate recorded in January 1973 had the same purchasing power that $23.68 would today.
I remember when I was earning it, or was thrilled that I was making at one point $1.80 an hour.
Yeah,
and so gasoline was 19 cents a gallon.
So that's a pretty good perspective right there. So I think that our purchasing power is just pretty low for some of these millennials.
Yep.
So nationally, showings were down 18% in July, year over year.
And I understand. I saw this statistic earlier that there's a lot. There's a lockbox company that operates a majority of the lockboxes now that they're all digitally tied together, and they can give you counts. But somebody said in here, how many actual showings were there in July of 2022 that were recorded by their computers? 778,000.
Yes.
700 in 1 month. 778,000 lockboxes were opened up by agents to open the door, let people walk through.
But that's in the entire United States, though.
Yes, well.
See, that doesn't really, I don't know if that really shocks me or not, but I guess if you divided that by 50 and go on down, it might, but.
It's still an awful lot of, that's a
good thing, though.
I guess.
People out looking for houses.
I wonder how many contracts were generated out of those 778,491 showings.
Yeah, exactly. Nationally, pending home sales declined slightly in July. According to the National Association of Realtors, July's 2022's very modest decline in pending home sales reflects the recent retreat in mortgage rates. Month over month, pending sales fell in 3 of the 4 major regions of the U.S., and the West Coast posting a small increase. Year over year, contract signings declined by double digits in each region. They say that also the West is probably going to start declining quicker because of the inflated prices in the West Coast up and down.
Oh, it's insane. It's absolutely insane. Now, how about here in lovely Hampton Roads?
As of yesterday, there was 4,196 active residential listings. Of those, 3,390 are single family, and 811 of those are attached homes. Last week, our count was 4,225.
My
goodness, I know. It's like blah, 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 total. 3,363 single family and 837 attached. This decrease in total listings is overall in about 0.5% or less a week to week, which that's not overly perplexing, really.
Right.
So I think the numbers
how about the numbers? How many houses are available of the 4,196?
3,109 are actually available. Yeah. That was a decrease of 1% from last month.
Remember that, folks. What you see on Zillow and the others is not accurate because in terms of total availability, I get questions all the time from prospective buyers on houses that are showing active, and they are not because they are encumbered with a contract and the contingencies that accrue to that.
So far in September, we've closed 600. Oh, so far, oh my goodness! Last week we closed 604.
Sorry,
and
folks.
as all
Kim
of August,
is normally really good at this, and I think it's been a long day.
It's been a long day. My mind is wandering. So all of August, 1,707 closed so far, and of July, the total was 2,862. I just can't read any more numbers, Paul. You have to take that over.
Okay. All right.
Jeepers.
All of July, 2,826 houses closed. In contrast to June, 3,984. In May, 3,339. And in April, 3,706. All right. We've got just a couple minutes before we have to take a break. We want to stress that statistics are volatile in scope, and quite honestly, I find them somewhat boring, but I have to know them because anytime that I'm at on the golf course or at a cocktail party or at a reception or at anything, people ask, well, how's the market doing? Well, the only thing you can answer them with is a set of statistics. So you can tell them, oh, it's pretty good. I'm doing real well, but that isn't the picture that they want.
I know them. I just obviously can't say them. I guess I'm going to use flashcards next time at the cocktail party.
Okay. All right. You're listening to the Real Estate PB&J Hour. This is Paul Fuqua and Kim Pimento. You're listening to us on Money Talk 1310, and you're listening to us live streamed on moneytalk1310.com. We'll be back in a couple minutes, and we're going to go into what to avoid when you are doing renovations and the processes you should follow. See you in a minute.
Now back to the Real Estate PB&J Hour on Money Talk 1310 and 100.9 FM. Rosenwomble Realtor Paul Fuqua gives you the fundamentals of real estate selling, buying, owning, and improving your home.
All right. Welcome back. Thank you for tuning in to us. You're listening to the Real Estate PB&J Hour. I'm Paul Fuqua. I'm here with Kim Pimento, and we're going to be discussing in the next segments the elements to avoid and how to avoid them that can cause you difficulty as you're going through the process of renovating or improving or adding to your house. Now, what we did last week, we discussed the pitfalls of renovations and other changes that you make to your home and how to avoid them. And I'm going to run down those very quickly. Bob Freck was here because Kim was in Texas. And Kim, please jump in. One of the key things was starting a project on your house and not finishing it, using inferior supplies and products, going cheap, not finishing work to a professional standard. We really touched on paint jobs and trim and mitering and things of that nature. Making structural changes in a home, such as removing load-bearing walls without having an engineer or someone who's really proficient, making certain that the replacement is sufficient so the house doesn't collapse on itself. And I don't laugh. I've seen that, unfortunately. Reducing the number of bedrooms in your home. If you have 4, you have a wider, more market segment to which the house will appeal. If you have 2, it's got to be a condo or something of that nature and it really restricts the market.
Or a nice tricked out little granny pad or something like that.
Yeah, I saw one that my wife brought to my attention. It had the kind of garage I wanted, and it had been done very nicely, and they'd taken it from a 3-2 to a 2-2 and enlarged the master, but it also had a guest cottage that was just wonderful.
See, that would be perfect for a lot of people.
Yeah, well, I'm not moving again. I told her, yeah, I like that. Maybe I'll
Unique properties like that are wonderful, but you do have to realize that they'll probably stay on the market a little bit longer and a little bit harder to price out.
Yes, and the appraisers are key. Whenever you're doing additions, you've got to make certain that you're aware of the values in a market and appraisal sense that your renovations bring to the party. If you don't, then you may suffer a financial downfall that you don't want to. The other mistake you want to avoid is eliminating storage space in closets. not eliminating, but replacing dated aspects of design and layout.
Right. Well, I think you need to pay for that architect or the plans to be done by someone who knows what they're doing, can make the home look fluid. Just don't stick a bathroom off the back. You want it to look like it's been there. It goes with the home. You don't want it to look choppy.
Yep. That's all.
That's very important. And I think do it right, even though it's a little bit more money.
Well, we'll get into that when we start talking about the process, because these are the things that we're just saying, hey, you don't want to do these things. You don't want to convert a garage with that planning for the storage that a garage entails. In many instances, in older houses, the garages have your hot water heater and part of your furnace.
Your washer and dryer?
Yes.
Yeah, I think people like garages.
Yeah.
And you can always tell people that don't have them because everything's outside.
Lawn chairs and
barbecue grill, bikes.
Well, now I have a garage, but never mind.
Your stuff is outside. That's because you have a lot of cars.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about. I think we can talk some other time. Don't want to create dead spaces. I mean, I've walked in the house, been renovated, and there's this weird little configuration where you've got a 4 by 2 inch space that's just useless. And it looked like it should be a closet. If it should be a closet, make it a closet. But dead spaces are deadly. And we didn't touch on it, but I'm a big bug about the lighting in a house. As long as you're doing renovations, go ahead and spend the money and get good lighting so that all the corners are eliminated, so that you have immediately achieved a sense of lightness and openness. Lighting is key to that. Not revising the HVAC. You add an addition and you don't revise the size.
Or at least add a little splitter unit.
Yep.
Those are wonderful.
And we always come back to, if you're in Pungo or you're in Hickory or in Suffolk and you're on septic, you start adding bedrooms, you better be sure that your septic permit is keyed to the number of bedrooms.
Yes, that's a no sale issue if you go to sell it.
Oh, no kidding. And not getting permits for the work to be done.
Oh, yes. And I've had to go back and pull old permits, see where they are. And the other thing I have to say, if you wonder if you have the skills to do your own do-it-yourself projects, ask somebody who's really honest, because I've been in many a home where the skills were not there.
Oh.
And that can be very expensive, even though it might look good to some of the buyers that just walk in, or first-time buyers say, "Oh, look at that tile," and then when you look at it, the way it was installed is a little bit to be desired.
I walked in one that they did subway tile, but they ran it vertically, and it was on a slant. No, it didn't go. It wasn't 90 degrees upright. I mean, it was so crooked.
I can see a pattern like a square.
This was just not done well.
Yeah, HGTV is like the nemesis.
Well, folks, at some point we'll do a show on the omission by the real estate shows on television of actual costs.
Right.
It's not realistic, folks. It really isn't.
Well, my sister always says, you showed them more than 3 homes? Because she watches that show on TV all the time. Hey. And they didn't make over the offer and sit down. It's like, no.
I had one customer, and I keep a stat. Not a stat, but I keep a copy of every listing that I show folks. And I think we had 42 homes I showed to these folks over a 2.5 month period. And they ended up buying, and they ended up buying another one when I sold that one a couple years later. So it was a worthwhile expenditure. They're lovely folks, but it was excruciating going through every one of those houses. And they really weren't that different. It was just something about the process of looking in other people's bathrooms, I think, appealed to some buyers.
Yes.
It did in this instance. There are 5 improvements that are said to be really valuable in making certain that the perception is that the house has been updated. And this is according to a realtor's organization. Hardwood flooring is a key element. You put in hardwood flooring, that's an update. That's something that brings the house into this century.
Yeah, or the new luxury vinyl tile.
Yes. Well, it's funny that luxury vinyl, we have it in our house, and it's
beautiful.
Incredible. Yeah.
But a lot of people prefer it.
Yep. Although the older houses, now I am old enough to remember when the trend was to put carpet, wall-to-wall carpeting is going down on beautiful hardwood floors.
Yeah, I have a 1955 house, and it had beautiful floors.
That's what ours is.
I tore it up. I tore the carpet up.
Yep. And you got to take out all those nail holes from the tack strips.
And they don't go away very easily.
And steam. Now, this is a realtors organization that says steam ovens are coming back into style. Now, what is a steam oven?
Oh, you mean it's steam cleaned up?
No, a steam oven. Valued for their humidity and temperature controls, are being installed in more kitchens. I'm reading from the article. Boston area kitchen designer Jody L. Swartz of Kitchen Visions now includes one in almost every kitchen she designs.
Yeah, but I bet the steam is encapsulated within some walls. It's not just going to float around unless you just put a casserole dish in there, covered. But I don't think steam is just in the oven, Paul. I think it's like a radiator.
It's like a railroad.
It's radiant heat in your oven. Okay. Radiator heat in the oven. Release the valve.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm laughing again. Built-in bookcases. That's been something I've always had in my houses. And that, I think, Zoom meetings.
Oh, and they're coming back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you can sit in front of built-in bookcases and look erudite. You don't have to have anything in there.
Well, now wood's coming back, and everybody spent all that money quilting and glossing over all that wood trim. The
warmer palettes. Now,
I like that. I like the colors.
We've been in severe white, and then the gray.
Agreeable gray.
I have a very good client, and they've bought and sold 3 different houses, and they've all been high-end houses, and she just redesigns them, and then 2 years later she sells them, and it's their hobby. And they've all been gray, and now I think she's moving to the warmer palette.
She's getting away from the shades of gray.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's... that is like some of those houses you go in, and it's like, to me, some of them, if you're not careful, it feels a little bit institutional.
Yes, I know. Now, this other thing, this is number 5 on the improvements that Shout updated: chicken coops.
Oh yeah, I had to write in the chicken coop and the chickens, and then one of the chickens died before we closed, and she agreed to buy another chicken.
I mean, but is that really something that people are looking for, that shouts that the house is updated?
I don't think that. I don't know. I wouldn't consider that. I was in FFA. I don't know if I would consider chickens an update. Future Farmers of America. Okay. I was the secretary.
Were you really?
Yes.
Okay. I've gone to a couple state fairs in my life,
Have you ever shown a chicken? You hold them by their legs, and their wings go out, and they come in there and feel them. And no, I just don't. I don't think
hold them upside down.
Yes.
Oh, that's cruel to the chicken, isn't it?
I showed Heifer.
We live in a very nice little waterfront neighborhood in Norfolk, and the young teenage girl up the street now has 3 chickens, and she hadn't clipped the wings, and the chickens can jump over the fence, and they come down and they feed in our yard, and I started feeding them. Then my wife,
was a mistake.
Yeah, it was. My wife became exercised because they started scratching and digging up her plants. And she said, tap, 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 tap. And, I like the chickens. And there are 3 of them, and they don't cause any difficulty. They're kind of interesting. The dogs don't like them particularly. But I'm certain that there's going to have to be something done, because I'm afraid they're going to walk across the road.
They might. Why did the chicken cross the road? That's
they get run
oldest
over.
Question.
They're going to get run over going across the road. But they have to put a coop in there, or tall or something. They got to do something.
Well, they don't. You have to. Lock your chickens in the coop if you want to stay them in the coop. If you put a coop in the backyard, the chickens aren't just going to automatically stay there.
Why would a coop be considered an update?
I don't think it's an update. I think it's a trend.
Okay. All right.
Fresh eggs.
How long is it going to last? How long do chickens last?
Until they step on enough chicken poop or get lice, and those things do carry bugs.
Oh,
and they eat stuff.
All right, so we're talking about here improvements, and why did we bring these up? Because in today's discussion, we're going to go over the process of renovating your home, not what to do, but the process. And the first one is to put in writing the overall goal of what you want to achieve when you're done. Do you want to have chickens? You got to build a coop. Do you want to have a very modern, sleek property? then you're going to have to take certain steps to make that happen. If you want something more provincial, something more European, or throwing back to the 17th century, there are certain things you have to do.
Yeah, I think you have to set goals and talk with if you have a significant other.
Yes. Well, that's in my house. My significant other, lovely woman, I treasure her dearly. She just says, "This is what we're going to do." And then, if I question it, she said, "Get in the car," and the next thing, we'll go visit open houses and builders models and look and see what the trends are. And then we always go 180 degrees away from the trends. But if you want to see what's going on today and what the tastes of the public are, you visit open houses and you visit models, the builders, because they pay significant dollars to have those homes decorated.
Yes, they do.
3, when you're there, take pictures so that you can tell somebody what appeals to you.
Yeah, look at magazines, make yourself a vision board.
What's a vision board?
Well, you have a board and you put pictures up there, kind of how you visualize you like to have your house, the kitchen look.
Okay. What kind of countertops do you think are becoming in vogue today? Is it still the light quartz?
Yeah, I think I like the quartz, but I also like the wood, the butcher block as an accent in there. I like the concrete.
Yeah.
In certain homes. Mm-hmm.
I wonder how much that stuff weighs, and do they have to bring in the truck? No.
Yeah. There was a place in Texas, a restaurant, you went in the bathrooms, and it was concrete countertops, and they had the old metal wash tubs as the sinks.
Oh, really? That's neat.
Yeah, it was really cool.
All right. Go to the large furniture stores and take pictures of their model rooms and see and try out the furniture and try and envision. If you don't do these things before you start designing what you're going to have, unless you're schooled in it, then mistakes can be made and you'll be halfway down the stream and the paddle will break.
Right. Well, I also think that if you're eclectic, and my taste is very eclectic, I think you just have to pick out what you like and maybe make a drawer, because you can combine a lot of patterns and colors together. But I saw a tip on a designer on Instagram that you have a drawer and you put the textures that you think you might want to combine and the colors, and you kind of play with these drawers till you kind of get an idea of what you would like to see in your environment.
Well, if you were going to add on to your house tomorrow, what would be the first thing you do?
I would get a good person to do some plans, because I would want it to look, I love homes that have been added onto. I love that when houses have been added onto, but they have to be done correctly and it has to flow. And I think you need a good person to come out and do some plans for you.
Okay.
And speak to them.
Is the best way to illustrate that with the magazine photographs, or the photographs you've taken at the store?
I think that give them an idea, a concept maybe.
That's why the number one thing I put on there was to put in writing the overall goal. If you're going to build out to your house, add say 300 square feet, what purpose? For what purpose? Is that going to be an extension of the primary bedroom and bath? Is it going to give you more entertaining space? You've got to be able to state it, and you've got to be able to make certain that what you're doing will be carrying financial value to you downstream.
Well, that would probably be the objective. What you want overall. I want to modernize my home to bring it up, blah 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 blah, and then you'd have all these goals underneath it. Probably the financial part of it. Maybe what you want it to look at. I think there'd be several steps in there.
Yeah. Well, what I say there's really is you're sitting at your desk and writing down what you'd like to do. Set 3 levels. One that is simple. One that is more possible and can be an easy extension of the simple, and then the dream.
Right.
And hopefully the 3 will overlap, and that's where you make decisions that can be crucial, because you don't want to do something in a simple that would remove the possibility of going to the next level.
Correct. You definitely have to have a plan, or you're just going to open up a can of worms if you don't plan as you go along. You start adding, you start changing. So you really need to have a plan, because this can get extensive and expensive.
very quickly.
Very quickly.
And there's an awful lot of fun in wielding a sledgehammer.
Oh, yes, I've always wanted to do that.
Oh, that's a sledgehammer and an air hammer, and then I love the air nailers. Pow, pow, pow. Oh, that's just tremendous.
Right. I've always wanted to drive a bobcat. You move it, the levers and spin it around and knock down a wall. Yeah,
a skid steer.
Those look fun.
All right, we're going to have to take a break here shortly. You're listening to Paul Fuqua, Rosenwomble, and Kim Pimento. This is the Real Estate PB&J Hour, and we hope you'll be back as we continue our discussion of the process we think you should follow and the discussion of how to plan for the renovations to your current home. See you in a minute.
Now back to the Real Estate PB&J Hour on Money Talk 1310 and 100.9 FM. Rosenwomble Realtor Paul Fuqua gives you the fundamentals of real estate selling, buying, owning, and improving your home.
You're listening to Paul Fuqua and Kim Pimento. We're with Rosenwomble Realty, and we're discussing the processes we suggest you follow before you start any kind of major revision or renovation or addition to your current home. And if you would like, you can also call us at 757-497-1310. That's 757-497-1310. And remember, this is the 32nd show we've had so far this year, and every one of the first 31 is on our YouTube channel at the Real Estate PB&J Hour. Please go on there if you want. You can skip around. We've had a number of exciting guests, and we've discussed a whole host of different issues that revolve around and can dissolve a real estate transaction. And we hope that you'll find it useful and that you will call in and participate in our discussions. Now, we were on the processes necessary to follow, we suggest, in renovating your property. And Kim, during the break, brought up that you've got to really zero in on appliances.
Yeah.
If you're doing the kitchen. If you're not doing the kitchen, appliances don't count.
Well, anything. But do some research and really think about things. This is just a silly example, but I recently put in a vanity. I love the way it looks. I love everything about it. But it has doors. There's no drawers. And the storage is okay, but when you're in the bathroom, if I want to open up both doors, I kind of have to move around one door. So, I should have gone in somewhere and opened up those doors and kind of checked out how easy that vanity would have been to stand in front of it and use it. Mm-hmm. But you don't think about little things like that. And the second thing is refrigerators.
I know it. This is coming.
They're very expensive, and I know that a lot of them had, for a while, the fad was they have the computer in the door, and they're useful. People like them, but they kind of went out. They look dirty. They kind of look dirty because people were putting their fingerprints all over it. So you need to kind of research your appliances. Go in there and touch them, open them, shut them.
Yes. We did that and ended up buying a very nice one, but it was about 2 steps below what I'm kind of a techie to a certain degree, and it had the computer and it had a TV. And then I was thinking, why should I spend all this money to stand in front of the refrigerator and watch television? It just doesn't make sense. That's why I have a chair, and a TV on the wall. Standing in front of, well, during the break, we brought this up, and we were talking about the TVs when you get gas.
Oh, yes.
That's a fun thing. You're sitting there and you're spending $4 a gallon, and you're getting a commercial for shoes on the pump. Something just isn't right, folks.
We have to be entertained every second.
I know it. It's ridiculous. And now the new cars. I mean, have you sat down in a Tesla? It's like you're in your living room, and it's got this great big screen. How are you expected to be watching where you're going when you got a TV in there?
Self-driven. All you have to do is have your hand on there.
Yeah, right.
Or a foot.
Me and cars. Oh, yeah, we touched on the 3 levels of renovation: the simple, the possible, and the dream scenario. Make up your mind what you really, really want to do long term, because when you start doing renovations and you start doing additions, you can go way overboard and overbuild for your house and your neighborhood. And there is a market value, as I mentioned before the break. I've had clients that call me up and say, what's it going to be in market value if we do this, or we do this, or we do this? And it's fairly straightforward to show. The biggest thing is adding footage.
Yes, that will give you more value.
Yes. Square footage is the key determinant.
But if you live in a 2,000 square foot neighborhood, the 4,000 square foot, 5,000 square foot home is not going to do you a lot of good.
It will not. It will not, because it won't equate. The houses in there may be selling at $150 or let's say $200 a foot. So $2,000, that's a $400,000 house. You come in there with a 4,000 square foot house, it's not going to sell.
Right.
It's not going to go up by about 30%.
Now, if you have 40%. A 2,000 square foot house amongst 4,000 to 5,000 square foot homes, then that's a good thing.
Yes, that is a great thing. You always want the smallest house in the biggest neighborhood.
Yep.
Now, the other suggestion I make, and I suggest this to all my clients, regardless of their plans to renovate or improve, is have your home professionally inspected at least every 3 or 4 years, because it's a machine. And machines break down. You're maybe operating the HVAC and it keeps the house cool, but you may not have noticed a creep in the cost to cool the house down or heat it up. It may not be operating at peak efficiency. An inspector is going to cost you anywhere from $350 to $500. You do that every 4 or 5 years, and he or she will at least give you a guide map of key elements where you need to have maintenance done, and or you may have problems that you want to take care of before you jump into any kind of full-scale renovation or addition. The other thing, this is my favorite part, demolition. Using a claw hammer, a sledgehammer, a sawzall, all of those tools are fun to use. They make noise, things go crashing. You can hurt yourself. Buy a good pair of gloves before you do it.
Because a lot of times you can do your own demolition if you talk to your contractor first.
Yes.
You just have to make sure you have a skip out there. Where are you going to put it? A lot of these cities are not doing large bulk pickups. They won't do home reconstruction or construction materials. So you need to figure out where you're going to put them at with the
or
debris.
You call 1-800-GOT-JUNK, or you have a bay disposal.
That costs money.
Yes, and you have to factor that in and realize that each element of the process is going to cost you a certain dollar amount. And you can plug it in your written plan on a schedule, because you got to do demo. Now, in our house, when we bought it, we redid the kitchen and we built out a garage, and we already had another garage there. And the first thing was the problem of all the stuff that we tore out. And so what I did, I borrowed a trailer, a friend of mine. We filled it up and took it to the dump, and then brought it back and filled it up, took it to the dump. It was better than putting a large-scale dumpster in the driveway. But you need to have a base schedule. It just seemed like every day I was going to the dump.
Right, yeah.
It's kind of fun.
Yeah. Oh, and the other thing is know when the dumps are open.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. Virginia Beach, they have some odd hours.
Not if you're a big...
Chesapeake, too.
Yeah. Well, is there a dump in Chesapeake? Where's the dump in Chesapeake?
It's over there, actually, kind of off Greenbrier.
Oh, okay. I know the ones that I dumped at were in Virginia Beach, there by Regent. I
think there's another one in Virginia Beach.
I'm not... Well, remember, Mount Trashmore was a dump.
Yes.
Isn't that another?
They did a great job with that, I think. And the other thing is... how you get tickled people when they start these renovations is you get something done, like you've added the bathroom and extended the bedroom, and then the hallway doesn't look right now.
Yes.
I mean, it seems like one renovation just leads to another.
Yes.
And it's a nonstop process.
And if you're doing it now, I have a very good friend who does a significant amount of work himself. He's extremely skilled at all manner of wielding of tools. He's not a mechanic, but he's a carpenter, painter, plumber, and his work is done to a standard that I can't comprehend. I mean, he's a perfectionist. It's almost criminal how intense he becomes when he's doing things like laying tile. And
how long does it take him, though?
Well, I talk to him regularly when he's not in a project, but when he's in a project, I don't hear from him. He just buries himself in it. And if he has to work 24 hours in a day to get it done by whatever, that he does get it done. He inevitably will choose a time frame before there's a big family gathering. And he decided he was going to refloor the whole house before they hosted the reception for his daughter's wedding. And that man, I'm surprised that he survived the experience, because he was working incredible hours to get this all done, and he was finishing.
Did they change venues?
No, he did not do that. And he was literally the last 3 days before the reception was to be held in the house. He was still putting down hardwood.
Oh my goodness!
But
my dad did that with my mom's house. That was split level, so 2 staircases, a hallway, you know, and it took him he didn't finish it. It took him probably about 2 years to finish the whole thing, but he to perfection. He's a ex-pilot.
Yeah.
Perfection to the T.
Yes.
Looks very professional. It's just that he likes to take breaks.
Yes. I'm the same when I'm doing a car. I tell the story. There was an older car that I had, and I didn't notice there was a little tick in the engine, and it was a car that I had babied a little bit. It was a 1961 Corvette, and it was very nice, but it was a lot of it was original. But this tick in the motor started bothering me, so I started taking the engine apart from the top end. The next thing I knew, I had the engine out. And then I figured, well, as long as I'm here, I'll do this. So then I had the body off the frame. Well, as long as I'm doing, then I had all this new fiberglass that was new old stock. And I spent so much money. I had no budget. It was just, okay, I got to go get this. But it would be dependent upon how much was in my little savings account for the car. And it got to be a joke, because I'm out there doing all kinds of side hustles to put money in there. But I still fed my kids, still met my mortgage, but I finished that car. Anyway, we already talked about know how you're going to discard trash. And you always want to clarify the need for permits.
Yes, and who's going to pull them? Does the contract expect you to go pull them? Who's going to pull the permits? How much those permits going to cost? What do you need permits for? Usually electrical. And if you update your kitchen in an older kitchen, then that means all your electrical in that kitchen is going to have to be updated.
Yes.
So you'll have to bring it up to code if you touch the electric and wherever you're doing the renovations.
Now, I wonder, does that mean if you're bringing it up in the kitchen, does that impact the need for smoke detectors in the other portions of the house, where in the old code was they had to be in the hallways, now they have to be in every bedroom? Do you have to go through and do that if you're just messing with the kitchen?
I don't. And smoke detectors, I think, since you can just stick those up without having electrical, I think you're just supposed to be up to code anyway.
If you've done something.
I think any time, because you can just put them on the ceiling, they're not hardwired in.
Right.
You still supposed to have one in every bedroom.
Well, I know that all these older houses that I've sold, that no inspectors ever insisted that they put smoke detectors in the bedrooms, as long as they're in the hallways. Mm-hmm. But the recommendation is always
in the bedrooms.
You're absolutely correct. And fire extinguishers, folks. A fire extinguisher, you can go buy those little red ones, put them in closets and bedrooms or wherever. They should be you should know where they are, and people should be able to reach them immediately. That's just a safety thing, and I carry that over for the cars too. All my vehicles, every one of them has a fire extinguisher in it, so that if there is any instance where we have a problem, you can get to it, and you can hopefully not have the car burned to the ground. Because I used to buy burned out cars for the engine. It was easy. Now, folks, we have 3.5 minutes. What would you like to say over the next 3.5 minutes, Kim Pimento?
Oh, I just think that when you're hiring your contractors, I would go for a quality contractor. If you go to your contractor and keep kind of bartering on the price, they will get you. That you just won't be able to see where they get you,
right? Because
they can cover it up behind the wall. So I really think that it's worth paying for a quality craftsman when you're doing your home.
And always ask to see a copy of his insurance.
Liability.
Yes. And that he is employing...
licensed and insured.
Yeah, and he's also employing people who have work permits if they are not citizens.
Right.
You don't want to have it raided, your property raided, because he's using illegal employees.
And you have to also be careful if you're having to mess with asbestos or lead. So, the homeowner, you can do anything, but when you hire contractors, if you have asbestos and lead, that's going to cost you a little bit more.
Yep.
You have to properly abate it.
Yeah, and the other thing is to keep a record of what's done to the house and the time frame and who the contractor was, and keep the copy of the invoices and maintain that file so that it can accompany the house if and when you decide to sell it.
Yes.
It also is very helpful because you then have an opportunity, if there's a problem, that you can trace back to the source of the problem. Last thing, and I tell people who are having homes built, take pictures.
Yes.
Take pictures of what's behind the walls. Take pictures of where the plumbing is, where
progress.
the electric, and so that you know what's behind that sheetrock in your house.
Right.
Now, we hope you've enjoyed this broadcast. We've got about a minute and a half left before we close out for this week. If you have questions, please feel free to address us next week. We'll be back here on Thursday at 5 to 6 p.m. at moneytalk1310.com. You can also listen to past episodes of the show at my YouTube channel, the Real Estate PB&J Hour. And to say thank you for listening, please drop me a line at paulfuquarealtor.com or psfuque.aol.com. And I'll send you a copy of the 31 tips on how to sell a house or how to improve it. We definitely enjoy bringing new concepts and ideas and old and proven concepts. And I thank Kim for having been here. You're a wonderful co-host and
Thank
make
you.
a lot of
Even though I can't say numbers.
Folks, this is Paul Fuqua. You've been listening to the Real Estate PB&J Hour on this wonderful Thursday. We look forward to you listening to the show next Thursday at 5 o'clock on 1310 AM, 100.9 FM. Have a pleasant week. Bye-bye.
See